What's up, guys? Today it's a review of the Inspired 4Play. Wait, no, never mind, it's not a 4Play. Today it's a review of the Inspired Skye. Alright, so let's get to it. Here we have an Inspired Skye, blue in color. Now, this Inspired bike is no longer the newest model. The newest model is now black in color, and the differences between that one and this one are pretty subtle. The only real difference, a couple millimeters in geometry in the frame. The new one's a tiny bit shorter by just a few millimeters, and it comes with the upgraded Magura MT7 brakes that was actually just an option back when this one was out. Starting from the front, the Magura MT7s. Now, these brakes, I honestly love them, to be quite honest. I have had quite a few brakes, particularly in the front. I've never been able to find a front brake that I was actually happy with. Now, I'm actually really happy with these. They work really well. Stopping, I mean, they come, there's quite a few adjustments you can do with them. There's an adjustment here. These still require tools. This uses a little bit of an Allen key thing. Now, that adjusts the reach of the lever, how far away it is from the actual bars. This is where I have mine set right now. You can kind of see what setting the screw is at the moment. And then this one is actually to adjust the bite of the actual pads. To be honest, I haven't really felt much of a difference whether it's turned all the way to the left or the right. But apparently it does make a difference in some way. I just kind of keep it in the middle. Who knows what it really does. But we all know that when you think it does something in your mind, you ride better. They're also quite light. The levers themselves are made pretty thin, I guess, of whatever they're made of, some composite material. They're pretty light compared to most other brakes that I've seen. The rotors that they come with, these are specific Magura rotors. I haven't really found a place where I can buy them separately. I'm sure you could find them somewhere online. I kind of forget what they're called. I think they're Magura Storm rotors, I believe. Something like that. Also up here, we have the Hope front hub. As you can kind of see in here, black in color. It pretty much is a hub, and it does things that hubs do. It rotates, and that's pretty much it. I haven't had too many different front hubs in my lifetime. I still have the original Echo front hub on my old bike. Actually, no, I don't. Just kidding. I've actually gone through a couple different of those Echo hubs. But this one looks pretty beefy. It's a bolt-through axle, so the actual axle bolts through and actually threads into the forks. It's a pretty good design. I like it. On one side, it looks like this, and on the other side, it actually has a wedge. Now, when you're tightening these, what you need to be careful is you need to loosen the wedge and then tighten the other side and then retighten the wedge. Because if you don't, it won't actually tighten, and I learned this the hard way, particularly in the rear, where it also has a wedge on one side, and I forget which side the wedge is. I think it's on this side. I didn't loosen it, and my back end started getting really loose to the point where I knew something was up, and I had to figure that out, that is indeed what the problem was. Now, we were starting at the front. Let's continue. These forks, yep, those are forks. You can't really eat dinner with them, but they look pretty good. I think they're nice, and they're pretty rigid as far as when you're doing backwards nose manuals or whatever you are doing, utilizing these forks pretty much every single trick because it's attached to the bike. It is pretty nice. The head tube of this frame is awfully thick compared to the 4Play. It's very thick compared to my hand. You know, it's like, yeah, it's like very thick. Now, the stem is a Trialtech stem. This is a 90mm stem by 35 degrees. And I had Tardy Bikes put the front cable through the head tube, running it down over here, out the bottom to my front brakes so that it doesn't get tangled. However, the rear brakes, you cannot do that. So the purpose of that, well, you have one brake that's not going to get tangled, but the other one still will. But at least you don't have two brakes that are super long. So I guess that's a convenience. Man, I'm holding my breath. I can't breathe right now. Deep breath, it's okay. Man, she's so beautiful. Now, The pedals that come with it are inspired platform pedals. I actually have these on my other bike. I have quite a bit of experience with them. Only problems, not necessarily that it is a problem. A couple of the pins fall out, but those are replaceable. You can actually replace them. Any of them can be replaced. These, you just thread them out directly from the top of them, and the other ones, they have a back piece that you can undo. So those are completely replaceable, and the bearings in them are pretty nice to where they don't spin freely, so you're never going to land on them like this. You're always going to stay like that. These cranks are Hope cranks. Now these are the upgraded cranks that you can have. It says made in the UK, and they are lighter than the stock ones that will come on here, and I like them. I got them because they were lighter. They are apparently stronger as well, I think. Who really knows? I don't really think it's usable strength, but they're lighter, so that's all that I really cared about. And one important thing that I'd also like to point out for this bottom bracket is the design that they have going here. They have this lock ring on here, and obviously from the factory, they tighten everything, but after the first ride, you have to re-tighten everything. You have to do that multiple times after multiple rides. Now, nothing in the manual that came with the bike pretty much referred to how to even utilize this bottom bracket, because I've never seen a bottom bracket that's set up like this. So my bottom bracket bearings began to somewhat get loose as far as I could move my cranks. They had a little bit of play this way in both of them. So I was like, okay, I hope my bearings aren't broken. So after half an hour of trying to figure out what the problem was, what you actually have to do is loosen this. You can see there's a screw on here. You have to loosen this, and then this piece actually tightens. So you want to get that snug so that the bearings in here are pressed up again, so this presses against here and pushes the cranks out so that you don't have that play. So you want zero play in there. If you ever get these cranks and you find that you have play in them like this, that's the reason why. The seat that comes on here is inspired Kevlar seat. I don't really know if this is actually Kevlar. I might have to get my gun out and shoot it or something. But it looks pretty good. It's kind of uncomfortable, but I mean, I guess you're not necessarily sitting on it all the time. And, you know, whatever. Trials life, who really cares? You don't even really need a seat, to be honest. So you got the graphics on here. Talking about the paint's like matte, and like you can kind of hear it. You can kind of like hear it. Like it's kind of like an abrasive look and feel to it. And that was just my nails that just kind of scratched it. I think that'll come out, I really hope. But it's kind of odd, the feeling, something to get used to. It's not glossy like the old frames they used to do. Moving to the back, you have the MT7 brakes and the same rotor. They are interchangeable. They're not really front or rear. The levers are actually flip-flop designed, so you don't necessarily have to have them on the left or the right. You can flip them over whenever you want. It doesn't matter. Tires that come on here are Danny McCaskill's Continental tires, his signature tires. I like them very much. I prefer them over the Holy Rollers, to be quite honest. The Holy Rollers, they're folding tires, and the sidewalls are quite thin, and I've had problems to where they would begin to tear and the tube would start popping out and shred apart. So I've had good luck with these tires, so I really like them. So on this side, the integrated tensioner actually bolts to the bottom of the frame, as you can see. It screws right in there, and it's tucked away in there pretty good. It doesn't really stick out very much. It has a Trialtech sprocket, cog, whatever, in the front. It's actually the inspired bash ring with a separate sprocket. I actually prefer this design over the newer integrated design that Inspired came up with, because if you ever break something, whether it's the sprocket or you need a new sprocket because yours is too worn, you can't get a new chain on it. I've had that happen a bunch of times. I'm sure that'll happen at some point with this bike. I don't want to replace the whole piece. I'd rather just replace the sprocket or just replace my bash ring. So the fact that this isn't actually integrated, it's two different pieces, I prefer that. The chain that comes on here is a KMC chain. I think it's K610 or, I don't know, 3/32 size. I don't really know. I think this is usually what the chain that I run. I usually run K810 chain. So I think they advertise something else, but I'm pretty sure that's what this is. Seat post, clamp, and you have the Hope headset as well. You have these amazing black valve caps that are probably $20 alone. And then, but you know, we always do it just for the love of the bike. That pretty much sums up the bike. As far as problems I've had with it, I haven't really had any problems besides just pretty much learning how to tighten everything with the wedges on the axles. That was an important thing that I had to learn how to do. And then the bottom bracket, tightening that collar on there was also important to keeping the bike rigid because, and then another was the headset was actually quite loose once I started riding it after that first ride. So you always want to make sure you tighten everything, including the headset, after the first few rides because it's going to get loose and it's just going to get looser and looser until something gives out. So that is a pretty basic review of this bike. If you have any questions, you can leave a question in the comments. I'll try to answer it. And I hope you guys have an awesome day. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. I'm going to make some more how-tos. You can leave a comment as to what how-tos you want to learn if you're getting into trials. I'm probably going to make a couple more advanced how-tos as well, like backwards nose manuals and maybe some foot jam whip variations. Just let me know what you want to see and I'll make it happen, and hopefully it'll be somewhat entertaining. And that's pretty much it. Thanks guys. See ya.
This hit is Givenchy, $900 for jeans, homie. All these girls be raunchy, like let me see your peen, homie. She trying to cause a scene, but I'm in Paris with my team, walking slow like I'm on lean. Damn, my nigga jewelry looks so clean. I occasionally bought in land.